The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We are webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in the Warner Center in Woodland Hills. We are so thrilled to be in our new studio. For those of you who haven't seen us for a couple of days, I want to remind you that I was away on a short break because my child, who recently turned 12, also graduated from grade school, and I had some family in to visit, so we took a little break. We're back today, but then we're off all of next week. So this is like a little catch-up show so that we can have a conversation with you guys before we take the summer break of next week. But then we're back hard for the rest of the summer, I believe, after that. So thank you for being patient and being with us and allowing us to take a couple of days off here and there. Hiatus, as they call it. We have to give Kelby Wood some time off next week because he's had no time off since he's been with us, which has been almost a year. We're almost at celebrating a year of Mr. Kelby Wood with us. In any case, as I said, we're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective. We're coming to you from the Warner Center. This is the new home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, and it's our new home as well. We have started doing shows from our new studio. We're still continuing to finish up on work on the studio and still deciding, we're still taking votes on whether or not you like the backdrop of all of the hands. We've got a lot of stuff to talk with you about, and I literally mean with, because this entire show is meant to be interactive. We hope that you will participate and talk with us in real time. So Kelby's going to show you some of the different ways that you can participate, some of the different ways that you can keep the conversation going. We want to know your thoughts, your feelings, your questions. While Kelby's showing you all the different ways that you can connect with us, I want to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. So much to do when you go there, but one of the biggest things that you can do is to watch the live show or a recently recorded live show. If you go to that site, you'll see a desktop and there is a computer screen there. If you click on the triangle that's on there, you can be, if we're in the middle of a live show, you'll be watching the live stream. If not, you'll see the most recently recorded live show. Now, if you want to go back to a show that you haven't seen, you can either go to the YouTube site, or you can go to the Blip TV site, or you can go to the Roku channel, or you can just click on the little playlist icon that's up in the upper left-hand corner of that computer screen, and you can see the most recent 100 shows that we have done. And we have many more than 100 shows, right? But now to the side of all that, there's what we call the live feature. It's a series of white boxes. If you put your cursor in the one that says your question, start typing, hit enter, that's really all you have to do. It shows up here on my screen, and you and I can be having a conversation. And even more fun than that, you can be having a conversation with any of our guests or experts that are on the show and having your questions addressed by them. I do like to remind you at the start of the show that while we do have many experts on the show, we just line them up to be on the show. I am not one of them. You might be watching going, well, who exactly is this crazy woman? Well, I am a mom. My son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. He is now, as I mentioned, 12. It's very interesting to me because I remember when I first started covering autism in any kind of a format, when I had a radio show, the tag always said, "Mom of a child, a 6-year-old with autism." So here we are. That's quite a while that I've been sitting behind a desk talking about autism. I don't know how that happened, but he's 12 now. So that's, inspirational to me. But, and he is inspirational to me. He's a large part of the reason why I get up in the morning. And the other part of it is that I want to be helpful and useful. I made a deal. Nancy Alspaugh Jackson, who I just got to see for a brief second before I ran in to start the show, she has an expression called the kitchen floor club. For those of us who at some point in having a child with autism found ourselves on the kitchen floor saying, okay, what am I going to do and how am I going to do this? And, whatever you pray to, please help me to do this. And if you help me to help my kid, I promise I will find the time and the way somewhere down the line to try to be useful to somebody else. So this is part of my kitchen floor deal here, that I want to help you to get to whatever progress you're seeking. I 100% get that this community is vast, right? It's big, beautiful spectrum. Not everybody's looking for the same thing, and it's not one size fits all. That what I did and how my child was and how we coped with it is not going to be what's for everybody. So I want to provide for you a wide variety of things for you to choose from, but it's so much better when you tell me what you need, and then we can have a conversation about it. So do write in on that live feature. Let us know what's going on for you. Be as specific as you can. Remember that it's complete anonymity. We don't know who you are or where you are, and we don't need to know who you are or where you are. But I will say this, it helps when you give us information about where in the world you are. I don't need your street address. 100% don't need that. But if you tell me, hey, I live 3-hour drive from Memphis, and that's the closest city near me, that gives me an idea of what resources might be helpful to you. Because that's really all I want to be, is helpful to you. You know what I always say, si se puede, we can get through this together. We hold hands together. None of you are in this on your own. We're going to talk some more about that today. But I hope that you will participate with us. And again, I'm not the expert, and even our experts that are here on the show, we do have a disclaimer at the start of the show to remind you that no one can give you individual specific advice in this format. But having said that, having a way to have a conversation and have it not cost anything, I hope that that's useful to you. And I know that many of you have written in and said that it is. So we'll keep doing that until you tell us that it's not. Please let other people know about us so that we can stay on the air. All right. I think it's time, Kelby. We like to start every show with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out what in the heck are these experts talking about? What is it that, how does this have anything to do with our lives? And why aren't they just using regular words instead of the jargon? I will tell you, the more you get familiar with the jargon, the more you see why they use it, because it makes things faster and it's more specific. Okay, so today's jargon term is distractor. Now we're not talking about ADD and being distracted by things. I love in the movie Up, the dog who he's talking and he's very conversational and yes, this, and then all of a sudden he goes squirrel, and he's distracted, right? That's not the kind, we're not talking about squirrels here for distractors, but this is something that is very important as a teaching tool. So what exactly are we talking about? Let's look at our actual definition first. A distractor is an additional stimulus. I know, doesn't your head start to hurt whenever you hear the word stimulus? An additional stimulus that is presented alongside the target during discrimination training. Distractors may be previously mastered stimuli or unknown stimuli. Oh, there's that word that I hate and loathe and despise. And then you go, what does this have to do with me? Why don't they put this in different English? All right, we're going to do that for you. Your working definition for distractor is an additional item, instead of stimuli, presented alongside the target to test whether the child can still select the correct answer when they have more than one thing to choose from. Okay, I can tell you that I had some help from a BCBA because I would have changed that substantially. So a distractor, when you're teaching something, especially when we're using really good ABA and we're doing DTT, which is discriminative, right? DTT. I don't have it this morning. It's not discriminative trial training. Yes, that's what it is, I think. But it's a type of teaching. Discrete trial training. Teaching. Where is my head? Can you tell I've been on vacation? DTT, I know what it looks like, but I can't pronounce it. Okay, so we start often teaching something with errorless learning. We want to make sure that the individual that we're teaching is going to get it right no matter what in the beginning. So if what I'm trying to teach, our target is whatever it is that we're trying to teach. And if right now what I'm trying to teach is pen, then I would probably find a better pen than this, because this is a very funky, interesting pen that I would use later on, but this is a pen nonetheless. And so I can start teaching the child pen, and I probably would start with a receptive goal to get them to understand that when I say pen, what I'm talking about is this. Later on, I would try to do an expressive goal where they're saying pen, right? And I would do them interchangeably. But I might start with saying, well, a lot of times we start with, I'm reaching for props. We start with matching. So if I had two pens that were exactly alike, and I would start with two pens that are exactly alike, I would put the one pen down, and I would give this pen to the individual, and I would say, put with same, right? And so that they would look and go, these are the same, and I go, yes, it's a pen, right? Then I would start by saying, after that, I would say touch pen. And I might even take the child's hand and have them touch the pen. Does the child know that this is a pen yet? No, they don't. And that's the thing about DTT is that when you watch it as a parent, as a teacher, you go, well, you're not really teaching them anything. Not in that first phase, right? We're just getting them used to and giving them a reward for it. So we say, touch the pen. Oh, you touch the pen. It's a pen, right? And I might do that 10 times, right? Touch the pen. They touch the pen. Yay! And after 10 times, they get a huge reward. They got the praise in between, right? So then I'm not prompting anymore, and I'm saying touch pen, they touch the pen, but there's nothing else there but a pen for them to touch, right? That's why it's errorless learning. So eventually, I have to put other items into what they call the field or the array to have them be able to notice what's the difference. So I have a cup here. So I would put the pen and the cup here, and I would say touch pen. So the cup is the distractor. So, and I can tell you that in the beginning, the child goes and they're going to touch the cup because maybe the cup is more reinforcing for them. They want to see what's in the cup, whatever. And we don't make a big deal about it, but we would prompt them and say, touch pen, and have them put their hand on the pen. Then I would rearrange the order, and eventually we get to an array of 3, but I would say, touch pen. And they touch the pen, and we reward them heavily for having touched the pen. It takes a while before they actually know what a pen is. And of course, there's many more steps to this. But the distractor is the thing that it's just there to help them see that's not a pen. And we're not addressing that right now. We're just putting it there saying touch pen. And they touch the pen, and they'll begin to learn what a pen is. It takes patience, but it works. Using a distractor is really important. And of course, in the beginning, when we use a distractor, we would try to pick things that aren't the kids' favorite things or the adults' favorite things, because you can do this with adults as well. You can teach almost anything with this. It just gets more advanced what the distractors are. If you think about it, whenever you take a multiple choice test, there are several distractors, right? And depending on how hard the test is, the distractors get more and more feasible as an answer. I used to teach kids how to take multiple choice tests, and usually you can immediately wipe out 2 of the answers. They're just ridiculous, stuff that's put in there just to take up space, right? And usually you're having to pick between 2 things. But the more advanced the test is, the harder it becomes. Same thing when we're doing pen and cup. We want to make sure in the beginning that the distractor is something that, while it's there and it's taking up space and it is a distractor, it's not as distracting as putting their favorite toy there. Eventually, we're going to do that, right? But not in the beginning, not until the child has fully mastered it. So a distractor is something that is there alongside the target so that we're helping the individual to figure out this is what this is. This is a pen. This is nothing else but a pen. And this is not a pen. It's a great teaching technique, and my friends, it works. Distractor, a good jargon term to know. All right, moving on, we always have a question of the day for you, and our question today, we want to know from you on Facebook, how do you like to celebrate? It's very interesting to me that because my son is a June baby, it's almost directly in the middle of the year. And so we do take time for his birthday to celebrate and to get together with people. Almost every year we do that. Even though every year I say it's not a good year to do that, we shouldn't do that. You know, there are more pressing things and we shouldn't spend any money on celebrating. We should, but almost always I say to myself, no, it's important because you do have to take the time to celebrate. And then, of course, we celebrate towards the end of the year and get together with friends for the holidays and things like that. So it's almost as though it's built in 2 times in the year where we have to slow our pace down and connect with other people. And I think that that's super duper important. Years ago, there was one birthday in particular where I said, we're just not going to do it. He's at a certain age where we're not going to have a party anymore. He shouldn't have this idea in his head that every year for his birthday he has a party. We didn't have that when I was a kid. You didn't automatically have a party every year. But I had a friend who said to me, don't do that. You've been through the ringer. You've gone through something really amazing and something miraculous. You put all your time and your energy. You didn't get to go do a lot of the things that other people got to do. Make yourself a deal that every year that you'll take at least a moment to celebrate the milestones of where you've gotten to and not focus on where you haven't gotten to. And it was super duper good advice for me. I remember being at that particular party and having a moment and asking somebody else to take a picture of all the people that were together. And it was something that I had sit on my desk for a long time. And it was the thing that reminded me that we weren't alone. And I remember at that particular party, people coming up to us and saying, we're so glad. We feel like you kind of went off the grid. We hadn't seen you for a while. This is a great thing for you to let us in to celebrate with you. So I try to remember that. And I want you guys to remember that too, that it's important. It's important. We're all doing really hard work, trying really hard to keep it together as much as we can as a family and as people of the society. And we're trying to help people get to real progress. And we're all working ourselves to get to real progress. So every once in a while, what's principle number 1 that we always talk about? Nobody does anything over and over and over again unless there's something that's rewarding about it. And I know that whenever we set a goal and we try to help ourselves or help somebody else, that, there's the goal that, if we do it, then we've made so much progress that in and of itself is rewarding. Well, that's great. But so often people don't get to that moment. You know why? Because there wasn't enough that was reinforcing in between. So I'm making the argument that we should all stop and celebrate at least twice a year. But the truth of the matter is that we should find ways to celebrate every single day. Every single day. I've shared before on the show when we were in our most intense of ABA therapy and having 40 hours a week of it. It was exhausting. But my little family, my husband and my son and I, every night when the last therapist walked out the door, as we were cleaning up the house and getting ready for dinner, we would always put on at least one song and dance in the living room and in the kitchen as a family, just to sort of shake off the day. And it was wonderful. It was a wonderful moment of celebration. We all think back on that fondly. I'm mad at us that I keep saying we're going to do that again, but a lot of times we're not all in the same place at the same time. It gets more complicated as our kids get older. So take the time, find the way to celebrate. It felt horrible being away from all of you for a week, but it felt wonderful to take the time to celebrate. And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the things that we did to celebrate. But I want to know from you guys, what do you like to do to celebrate? Write in on Facebook, because it will give other people ideas and remind all of us we have to take the time to put in the celebration. It's important, or we will all break down, right? You got to make the time. Okay, so that's our question of the day. We always have a topic. Our topic for this very short week, just today, is making the most out of a break. What do we do during a break? And it's different for different people, because for some people, they need to take a break and just get sleep. And that's important. Don't let anybody poo-poo that for you. Sometimes you just need a break to have downtime. Sometimes you need a break to be social. Sometimes you need a break to get organized. But let's remember that you need to take a break every once in a while, and let's use it to its most effectiveness to get the thing done that you want to do. For a lot of us, we're in some sort of a break right now. Some of you, your kids are out of traditional school for a while and you've got summer break. That might mean that you're in summer school or in camps. How do we make the most of this time? You know, a break gives us an opportunity to look at things in a different way. So we're going to talk about that. And then some of the other things that we're going to be talking about, we're going to talk about, I'm going to give the toolkit for amusement parks, how to be successful, because I just went and did some research on this. I'm going to tell you some of the things that I did right and some of the things that I did wrong, so that you can learn from my mistakes. We're also going to break it down for you. I'm going to do a comparison looking at, because I tried the new Disney Disability Pass for the first time just on Sunday. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and how to make that work and why I have a little bit of exception with it. And then we're also going to talk about I've shared this a little bit before, but I want to share even more about the Legoland Guest Assistance Pass. So we're going to do a little bit of a comparison with that. We've got some autism news coming up for you. I'm still looking for the good story. You know how sometimes if I have to give you a story that's not good and I've got two that are not good, I'm looking for a story that's more uplifting for you. But good story that we have, Lois Jean Brady, who we've had on the show before, author of Apps for Autism, amazing woman. She's going to be with us in the second hour this morning talking about the new edition. We love Apps for Autism, right? And we love when it came out and that it was featured on 60 Minutes. Wonderful book talking about the great ways that you could use a bunch of different apps to educate and uplift and help kids on the autism spectrum to get to that progress that they're seeking. The only problem with it was that there were so many more apps that came that it very quickly didn't encompass all the new things. Well, guess what? There's a new edition. So Lois is going to talk with us about that. And then an app that she has been instrumental in called Inner Voice. So we're going to talk about both of those things. And we'll talk about the things that you guys are interested in. We're going to check in on some of the questions that you guys have written in over the last week. Today's the last day for another week, so if you've got something you want to know, write it in right now. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk about what it's like when you go to the amusement park. Stick with us. Mid-swing on this wonderful day, this wonderful walk with Mr. Matt Asner. Talk to us about today's walk. Do we have any facts, figures, numbers, or just pure emotion?
Just pure emotion. I'm about to get the numbers. We'll see what it is.
Okay.
I think it's probably close to 1.6, probably. That's my feeling. But it's incredible. We had 55,000 people plus here today, and you know, honestly, I've been here 7 years. It gets better and better and better. So.
And really what you fostered here today is hope. I know that's your favorite four-letter word.
Where are we without hope?
Where are we?
Really, I mean, seriously, where are we without hope? Hope is everything. Hope is eternal.
This is a pretty big event. Every year I love it. What does this event mean to you?
Well, I just think it's great that you see so many people coming out to support, autism.
So we're here with Max Burkholder. In your life, there's a whole community of people that are going to love you no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter what you do. And that's the autism community. Are you okay with this? Is this a good thing?
I'm pretty okay with it. This seems to be a pretty happy, supportive community.
Well, what did you learn about autism through portraying this wonderful character?
Sort of the individuality of it, like with autism spectrum disorders, a tendency is to sort of generalize everybody with sort of the same degree of affliction as sort of exactly the same and very generalize them a lot. But something I found while just talking to everybody and that I tried to put into the characters just the sense of individuality that all of them have, everybody has. And so at a certain point it became not really even portraying autism, it just sort of became portraying the character.
To streamline those 3 to 4 lines, have a plan of what to do while in those lines, because some of them are just non-negotiable. That might be the time to crack out the really preferred snack that you're having while you're in line. That might be the time to pull out the phone that has the app on it that you know the kid finds really reinforcing. You kind of have to think about the specific example for the kid or adult that you're working with, because there are some kids that you give them the app on the phone while you're standing in line, and that's the day for them. They're not interested in putting the phone down to do something else. Bit and come back to it in a couple of minutes, just like we do apparently on Netflix. I just get frustrated when Netflix doesn't work. All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk specifically about how does the Disney Disability Pass work, and how it's different than it was before, how you might help yourself to make it work better, and what are some things about it that aren't great. We'll be back with that after these messages.
It's every parent's desire for their child to have a great start in life. Yet there is a condition affecting more children's lives than pediatric cancer, diabetes, and AIDS combined. Autism strikes 1 in every 150 children.
Today, 1 in 110 kids in the U.S. will be diagnosed with autism. That is a huge jump from 30 years ago when it was 1 in 30,000.
Startling new report finds the number of children with autism is skyrocketing. The Centers for Disease Control estimates 1 in 68 children has a form of autism. Now that's a 30% increase in just 2 years.
Well, a lot of this with all the accomplishments over the last 20 years, I'm thrilled.
This is a knowledge and so on. And I would just sit with the family and the parents and walk them through and try to take away some of their fears, you know. And at that point I realized, I think the thing that's actually most important to me is that process. I mean, thank God that I've been very, very lucky and blessed to have so many incredible clinicians join me along the way and just develop CARD in such an amazing, magnificent way. That I could, you know, for me it was more really about how can I help the families, what can I do for the moms, the dads, you know. It is just, and I feel like, you know, there's no way I would ever really know because I haven't had my own child go through this, but I've experienced it with people a lot of times.
Hi, this is Megan. I'm in 1st grade all by myself. My teachers are so fabulous. I like to read books. I like to go to my friends' birthday parties. I like to invite my friends to my birthday parties. I once had a sleepover with a friend. I like to have play dates with my friend. I'm the best reader in my class. I like to go to the library. I like to read different series of books. And here's how I learned to do all these things. By my card friends and Dr. Grandpichet. Thank you, card friends and Dr. Grandpichet.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We've talked extensively on the show about Disneyland and how fabulous Disney and the Disney parks can be for our kids who are on the autism spectrum. Way back when they had the guest assistance pass, it was something that we talked about in very hushed tones, wink wink, you know, get the guest assistance pass, because it wasn't something that was great public knowledge about how to do that. That pass allowed you came to the theme park and you did have to wait on a line to get the assistance pass, and there were many different types of passes. They had stamps on them and they would ask you specific questions about what are the difficulties that the people in your party may have. They didn't ask for any documentation. But for some people, they needed to be in a wheelchair until it was time for them to move over to be on the ride. Other people just couldn't be in a tight, cramped space for a long period of time because of the sensory issues that went along with it. And they had different stamps that were good for different things. There were stroller passes that allowed you to take the stroller through the line up to the ride. Well, all of that changed a little more than a year and a half ago because there was a news story on NBC that talked about the fact that there were individuals who had disabilities who were hiring themselves out as tour guides through some local entities. I think it was primarily happening in Florida. So a travel agency would have an individual who might be on the spectrum or have some other disability that they would hire them to be the tour guide, and families could hire the services of that tour guide for the day to take them around, and that way the family could take advantage of the guest assistance pass and get on the rides, get off the rides much quicker. And it was an embarrassment to the Disney Corporation, and there were a lot of people who were up in arms about it and thought that it was really horrible. I think there were many people who had many different feelings about it. I was looking at it and going, hey, it's a job, but other people felt that it was exploitative and inappropriate. Okay, Disney decided that they were going to change their pass, and they did a little bit of research on it about how they wanted to change the pass. They did do some research on what autism is and what are some considerations for autism. And my understanding, having been at the park the other day and getting the new pass, which is no longer called the Guest Assistance Pass, it is called the Guest Disability Pass, Access Pass, which, first of all, I think that is the first wrong move that Disney made. I really think that the Guest Assistance Pass was a much better name for it. I think the decision to go backwards and put disability in the pass name speaks to a misstep somewhere, a disconnect that I personally would like to see changed. So in any case, this new pass has gone through many different incarnations. It has changed several times, but I'm giving you the most up-to-date information because I was there less than a week ago, and I went with an open mind. We had Carrie Mallory Thompson on the show. She had just been through, and she had not been with the pass before, and she said it worked great for her. And so that gave me great hope but of course I have a preconceived notion because we went for years with the Guest Assistance Pass, and I'm used to that, but I went with as open of a mind and as open of a heart as I could possibly go. And I will tell you that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But here is my big asterisk. It requires, in order for it to be of benefit to anyone, it requires a great deal of planning and a great deal of flexibility. And since we know for individuals on the autism spectrum that is not a strong suit, this is a little bit of a, to me, that, Disney, I hope that you're listening and paying attention because it makes it really difficult. And I will also say that we were able to do okay with it because my son is high functioning and he's older now. I don't think for us, if I remember the first time we went to Disneyland without a pass and we left saying we can never go there again. And I left in tears after having been there for about 2 hours. I think that the same would have happened to us if that had been the case with this new pass. I think that would have been the same thing that happened. And I watched several families descend into full meltdowns, and I'm talking about the relatives that were with the individuals because of some of the things that happened, particularly at the start of the day, those long lines that I'm talking about. So, you have to get your tickets, but I do think it's best to order them ahead of time so that you're not standing in that line. There is a bit of a line going into the park because they have to there's the security check first, actually. There's the security check, then you get to get your tickets, then you get in line to give the tickets to go through and get your maps, and then you must go to City Hall and get your pass. The line at City Hall to get the pass was, out the City Hall steps, down the steps, and back almost to the entrance of the park. It was lengthy. There was a gentleman who was in line in front of me who had a daughter who had special needs, and I watched as the Disney employees, they, came through the line, tried to weed out people who were just there to, because there are other reasons to go to City Hall as well, right? You can get a birthday pin that says happy birthday. There are other reasons why you could go there, and they kept trying to go through and weed those people out so that it would just be the people in line who were going to take a few minutes the disability pass. But by the time we got up the stairs to get into City Hall, where it's air conditioned, and we've been having to stay in the sun with nothing else as a distractor except for the person going through the line saying, "Are you here to celebrating a birthday?" By the time we got up to the door, the girl in front of us was in full-on meltdown, was laying on the porch saying, "I want to go home," and the dad was in tears. The mom had gone to get something to drink, to stand in a line to get something to drink so that she could give it to the daughter. But it took 4 people to get her into the building so that she could get the disability pass. And I know that it was not just a coincidence that I happened to be standing behind them on the one day that one person did that, right? Because there was a kid, 2 people behind us who was having a meltdown before we even got up the steps. The expectation that you can take somebody into the happiest place on earth and the first thing that you must do is stand in line. It's wrong, Disney. It's the wrong message. It's the wrong thing. And I will also say that you get up there, it's a very noisy place. Your child is, having a hard time. My son was having a hard time by that point. But he was able to have a conversation with the girl. She was able to give us the pass. And I said, "Now, I don't know how to use this, so tell me." And she got out a map and she circled all the little kiosks. And I said, "Tell me as if I've never used a pass before, because I don't know how to use this pass." And she supposedly gave me all the directions. She sent me out the door. And one of the little places that had a kiosk that was circled was right outside the door. And I said, "Well, this is convenient. Let's go get a pass for something so that by the time we walk down Main Street that we'll be ready to go on a ride." Well, I went outside and I stood in line at that kiosk to get to the front of the line to be told, "Oh, we're not a kiosk that does that." Excuse me? Are you really kidding me? So now we had to walk down Main Street to get to the first kiosk, stand in line there. We got there, we've been at the park for over an hour now. We're in the hour and a half-ish mark and have done nothing, seen nothing except stand in line. Everybody is frustrated, and that would be anybody. That has nothing to do with autism. That was just plain frustrating. And so we get to the front of the line, and I said, "Okay, so we want to do this." "Oh, well, you have to have everybody in your party here." And I had said to my niece, "Go do something." "Oh, everybody in your party has to be here." So apparently the whole family has to stay in line. It's not that one person stays in line and gets the ticket. Again, I think that Disney, that's not the way to be. Because it makes the whole family shut down, which is exactly what we don't want to have happen. I can't tell you what a wonderful thing it is for the person on the autism spectrum if they feel like they're included in something. And to be included in something negative doesn't get it done. "Oh, we have to stand in line to get the pass." It's the same as standing in line for the ride, kids. And that's the thing that we were trying to avoid. We got to the front of the line and I expressed my frustration, and the girl said, "Well, you were going to have to stand in line anyway." And it just ticked me off to the point. I said, "Please, please do not stand here and try to school me about how this was going to work or not work, because I'm right here. I'm ready to leave." I was hopping mad. And she immediately, as a good Disney employee, said, "I'm really sorry that that's been your experience. Let's get you on a ride right away." And she gave me a pass to get on any ride without having to wait online for it. So she scanned our passes and it put all of our pictures. That's not true. For my niece and they don't have passes. It put their tickets and said that we could go on the Buzz Lightyear ride in a half an hour. So we had a half an hour to kill. We decided to go do something else. So we went to Pixie Hollow because my niece's daughter wanted to meet Tinkerbell. And Pixie Hollow, we didn't have a pass for, so it was a wait in line for 45 minutes. Well, we had 35 minutes to kill before we could go on the Buzz Lightyear ride anyway, right? So we waited in line, and I really had some time to think about it while we were waiting in line. Why? Why do we need these passes for our kids? Because if you pay $100 to go into an amusement park, and it doesn't matter where the kid is on the autism spectrum.
In fourth grade, and it was always encouraged. And I was encouraged to do lots of different kinds of art. Otherwise, it would have just been endless horse heads. You know, Mother would say to me, why don't you draw a picture of a beach or something else? You want to broaden it out. If the kid's fixated on trains, let's teach reading with trains, math with trains. Tap into that fixation, but develop the area of strength. Some kids it's going to be art. Other kids it's going to be mathematics. So you got a third grader who's smart in math, and he wants a sixth grade math book. Give him the sixth grade math book. Don't bore him with the baby stuff. But that kid's going to have trouble with reading, because the common thing is the uneven skills. And then you have the kids that are the history buffs, and these kids are often really good at writing skills. You tend to have uneven skills, but tap into their fixations and use those to motivate, but broaden. If he likes trains, just watching them, well, we're going to take that interest in trains to do some math with it, or maybe read about the history of the railroad. You know, tap into that motivation. One of the things I really want to talk about is we got to stretch these kids. I'm not talking about physically stretching them, mentally stretching them to do new things. I'm seeing too many kids that haven't learned how to shop, how to order food at McDonald's. So you start out, let's say it's ordering food at McDonald's or at Burger King. So you take them up there and they watch you order it. And then eventually you go in when the store's not busy, and they have to go up and order it while you're sitting at the table watching, and then you coach them. And then eventually they can go in the restaurant themselves. I can remember I was scared to go to the lumber yard alone and buy lumber. And Mother made me go. And she knew I could do it. I had bought lumber with her many times. But there's a tendency to want to have somebody else there when they do it, and they've got to learn how to do things alone. And you gradually have got to kind of push it. You've got to stretch them. And I'm seeing too many kids not learning basic skills. Saw a 19-year-old honor student that actually knows how to drive that had never shopped in the grocery store all by herself. That is just ridiculous. You know, you've got to stretch them. You push too hard, there can be panic. And the other thing is no surprises. No surprises. I knew all about the ranch long before I went there. I'd talked to Ann. But if you don't stretch these kids, they don't grow.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I promised you that we were going to do a little bit of a comparison between the Disney Guest Disability Pass and the Legoland Guest Assistance Pass. And notice the language between the two. Legoland has changed their pass to be a more person-first language, so it's a guest assistance pass. We would really like to, I certainly would like to petition Disneyland to rethink their pass. Used to be called the Guest Assistance Pass, and now I think that it's stigmatizing Guest Disability Pass. I wish they would change the name of it. Also with the Legoland Pass, it is such that you get a card, and when you go to a ride, you have to enter through the exit. You go through the exit, you still have to wait. There is still a bit of a line, and you still do not get access to go on the line right away, but the line is significantly shorter. That doesn't mean that you're going to get on right away, but you're standing in line with other people who understand what a special needs pass is. So they're a little bit friendlier in terms of if your child is making stim noises, you're going to get a lot more acceptance in that line. So maybe there's 10 people in that line. That doesn't mean that you're the next 10 people that get on the ride. In fact, most rides have one car that is designated the one for that guest assistance pass. So, you know, they put a whole bunch of people on the ride goes through, that one car comes along, and then somebody from your line gets to go on. And people say, well, then why wouldn't you want to be in the regular line? Because first of all, often the exit lines are more accommodating in terms of space, because it's a whole bunch of people that are going to get off at once, whereas they're trying to control the crowd when people are getting on a ride. So it's not as cramped, so it's not as sensory disabilizing. That's not even a word. It's, you know, when you're in a tight line, your sensory meter is going to go up much faster than if you're in a wide line. and you've got some space to breathe. And that is what happens in the exit line. Plus, the people in the line, as I said before, are much more friendly. And if you need to turn around and make a quick getaway because the meltdown is starting to happen, you're already in the exit line, you can go really easy. Stop and consider if you waited in line for an hour in a line where it's all tight and cramped and you've gotten right to the front, and your child starts to have the meltdown right before they get on the ride, which happens, my friends, then you would have to snake through that very tight space. You'd be a salmon swimming upstream, and I don't know about you, that would be my worst nightmare. My child is sensory overloaded, about to have a meltdown, and now I have to walk through a crowd. Through a very tight fenced-in, no, nightmare city. So much easier when you are in the exit lane and able to do that. The pass does allow for a certain number of people. I believe that you can have up to 4 on the Legoland pass get on the ride at the same time as you. We found that it made such a difference in the day and how much enjoyment was had by the entire group. At one point, my niece said something really wise. She said it's as much about the group as it is the individual, because you want everybody to have a good time. And if people start to be like, oh no, being with that person is a bummer, not fun for the rest of the day and for the rest of the life, right? But if you start to connect and go, oh, I so enjoy being here with you, and we get to go on a ride and we get to stand where there's a little bit more space and it's a little more sensory friendly for us, then it becomes a positive thing. We had a great day at Legoland, and we want to say to the people at Legoland and the people who run Legoland, thank you, because your policy used to be similar to what it is like at Disneyland now. And it's as though the two of you have crossed paths. But I think that Legoland has it right. Disney, we hope you're paying attention and that you will go back to some of the things that you had before. By the way, when we got to Legoland, the line for the pass was almost non-existent, and they had it in a room where the kids could play with Legos while you waited in line, be in the same room with you. Smart Legoland, using your heads, making it the happiest place in Southern California. We're going to take a break, and we're going to go to the A word now. This is the ongoing documentary being made by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders following a little boy, Jack Riley, diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. Take a look at what's happening with his family. This is the A word.
Jack Riley starts his day with Jessica and AB therapy at 8 a.m. Each session he has lasts around 2 hours, with a total amount of therapy of 40 hours per week. This includes occupational therapy, speech therapy, and ABA therapy.
What do you want to play with today?
Train.
That's what I thought.
Yay, there you go.
There's trains and tracks. Nice.
So what's an average of programs you try to get done in a session with a kid?
I try to incorporate a lot of things as much as I can. Like, for instance, if he was playing with trains, I'd incorporate functional pretend play. So that's just basically teaching him how to play with the toy appropriately, the way it's supposed to be played, building a track and having him move, and using vocalizations. Choo-choo, let's go, all aboard, things like that.
Choo-choo.
All right, say all aboard.
All aboard.
All right. Since he's so little, we're building a lot of language. It's language all the time. So we work on banding, so having him request for things for me.
What train? What trains? What track?
We can also work on tacting, which is having him label, like the colors, the names of the trains.
That's the trees. It's Thomas.
It's Thomas. Also, we can work on getting attention. I would withhold the preferred trains or tracks and have him tap my shoulder to get more pieces.
He wants to go.
Hi, what do you want?
What train?
You want trains. We can also work on compliance, like come here and give it to me. Wait. Come here.
Yay!
concentrate, at the same time in one sitting. And as far as his behaviors, I haven't really seen anything. Hey, sit up! Oh, just now. Yeah, with his visual stereotypy, his is just looking at things from a different angle or sideways or upside down. But he rarely engages in that except just now.
What? Pickers.
Huh? Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Susan.
Hi.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I'm filming you.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Can you say hi?
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Say hi, everybody.
Hi, bye.
Who is that?
Jack.
Jack? Jack who?
Jack Riley.
Where's your nose? Where's your ears? Where's your eyes? Where's your chin? Ooh.
Where's your teeth? Is that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your head? Where's your tummy? Okay, I'm gonna need you now. Give me clothes. Good job. What's a hat? Clothes! Oh my goodness, you're so smart.
Jessica and Jack Riley are continuing to work on categories.
Give me vehicle. Oh, sorry. Thanks. Give me vehicle. Nice. What's a fire truck?
Fire truck.
What is it?
Vehicle.
It's a vehicle. Cool. Give me clothes. Good job. What's a dress?
Clothes.
Clothes. Nice. Here you go. Here's your sticker. Give me furniture. Nice job. What's the table?
Furniture.
Furniture. Perfect. Give me clothes. Good job. What's a jacket? What's a jacket? No, what's a jacket? No. Hey, hey. What's a jacket? No, what's a jacket? Cl. Cl. It's cl.
It's jacket.
What is it?
It's clothes.
It's clothes. So what's a jacket?
Clothes.
Clothes. Good job. Here, put Tigger on. Yeah, you're all done. You want your trains or bed?
Trains.
Okay, go play with your train.
Okay, I'll go to Bob. See you later.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I wanted to take a couple of seconds. First of all, I want to remind you to watch the A Word. You can see it on its very own YouTube channel. You can watch it on our channel. Check it out. It's a really useful tool. I'm so proud that we know this family and that they were so giving of their time to have this shot so that we can learn from the things that they did right and from the things that it took them a little while to learn, but really a remarkable family. And now I want to take just a couple of seconds before I want to remind you that in just a few minutes we're going to be joined by Lois Jean Brady, who's going to be talking with us about the newest edition of Apps for Autism. Amazing resource because apps and using an iPad or a tablet to be able to supplement what you're doing with an individual with autism, such a great tool because it's so reinforcing and it's so flexible and it can do so many things. So Lois is going to be talking with us about this newest version of Apps for Autism. But I wanted to take us a couple of seconds to talk about some of the things that you guys wrote in during the break. Somebody said, "Dear Shannon, love your meditation guidance. Tried it before and slept like a baby afterwards. Love that." And they said, "I need to remember to do it." And then they're talking about something that they wrote in earlier. But, my husband and I were having a really good laugh at ourselves the other day because there's something that we did years ago that was a joint meditation thing to do together that involves a certain number of stretches And every time we do it, we feel better, we feel more connected, things go better. It's like we could almost chart it, that things in our lives go better. If things start to get rough, we go, oh, we should do our meditation again, and we start doing it for like 3 days. Our backs feel better because we've been stretching, and we feel more connected, and everything is more wonderful. And so what do we always do? We stop. And we were laughing at ourselves about, I was like, oh yeah, see, it worked again. And so we stopped doing it. I don't know what that's about. And I don't know if that's just an autism parent thing or if that's just a thing. But there are things that are available to us that help. Nancy's been after me to do my own guided meditation, and I have not in a very long time. So just putting it out there that when something works and it's useful to us, that we should all, myself included, do it more often. But thank you for writing in. And I want to remind you, if you haven't tried the guided meditation, it is in our blog. You just will have to scroll through and find it, but it's free and it helps. It's 11 minutes and just a guided meditation to make you take a moment and get to the fuzzy space. And I can put anybody to sleep. Let's put it that way. Somebody else who says, not a question, but a comment. I'd like to see a segment in a future show about entering the school system and doing your first IEP. I have enjoyed your previous segments on FAPE, and I'd like to learn more so that when it's time to enroll my child in school, I can be an effective advocate for my child's education. And thank you for all you do. You truly make a difference in my life. I want to say thank you. You make a difference too. And thank you for writing in. And I will get right on that because I think that's a great idea. What it's like the first IEP and how do you get it set up? Because a lot of it, those first 2 IEPs, I think are more important than any other IEP if you're staying at the same school, because it sets up a communication path where you've figured out, and they have figured out, this is the way this is going to go. Not that you can't change it later on, but getting those first 2 IEPs in place is often an amazing, amazing leg up. Somebody else who wrote in and said, I live in Texas and my employer doesn't cover ABA. How do I approach my benefits department to cover the next year's plan? So this is a dicey thing, and I will tell you that there are organizations that are out there that will take up your cause if your employer doesn't cover ABA. First thing that I would ask you to do is check and see if your state has a mandate for ABA, and if it's just that your employer isn't covering it because they're self-insured. For those of you who are just tuning in and you're going, what? That was a lot of jargon. There are a lot of states now in the United States where we've passed laws that say that your employer has to cover ABA in their insurance plan. Here in California, we have a mandate, which means that we have voted that into law. And many more states have that than don't have that. Okay, so in a state that has a mandate, there is a law that they have to cover it for insurance. So you would think that everybody in California has coverage, except that that's not the case because not everyone actually has technically insurance. Large companies that have a lot of employees sometimes opt to be self-insured, which means that they are paying into a system that they're putting the money there and then they're going to pay it out of that instead of paying an insurance company. So if you end up going and having $40,000 worth of care, you're not going to get that actually from an insurance company. It will actually come from your company. An insurance company might be managing it for them, but it's not technically insurance. Insurance is when you pay a premium and they're going to cover it no matter what it is. I know my head hurts from it, but there is a difference legally. One, the self-insured is covered by ERISA, the other is not. And ERISA cannot be mandated by a state law, it has to be from a federal law. So until the federal government says you have to cover autism insurance, it doesn't matter what the state rules. And if you're awed by the fact that I know that I'm awed by the fact that I know that, because I have no interest in knowing about insurance, but this makes a big difference in who gets covered. So it's worth it to know these things and understand how it works. Now, many self-insured companies will cover ABA, and it becomes a lobbying thing where you can start the discussion, but don't waste your breath talking to somebody who's not a decision maker. And I would encourage you, don't start the conversation by yourself. Get somebody from another organization to go in with you, unless it's a relatively small company and you know the people who are decision makers. Otherwise, I would go in with a very friendly, and you can, look at disability rights groups, and there's a wonderful organization here in California that has gone with several people and been really helpful. You can talk to the folks at Autism Speaks. I would specifically talk to Shelley Hendricks about, would she like to go with you to have a conversation with the company about the benefits of covering it and why it's useful to them, because it is. If you have autism parents that are working for you and you are a company, you should be funding that, because you will lose those employees eventually, either to the health concerns that their child has, or another employer will be able to snap them up, because any smart person would be where there is insurance for ABA, right? So if they want the best employees and they want them to stay, then that is certainly something that they should cover in their self-funded plan. But there have been several people over the years who have tried different ways to get their company's attention. I do think that it's best to, if you know the people, start the conversation. If not, go through another organization and have them help you. That's my 2 cents on that. Okay, we're out of time. Do I have time for one more question, Kelby, before we go to break? Okay. So another person who wrote in said, hi, my son was diagnosed with ASD and provided with EI, early intervention, for about 10 months. Now we just moved to Texas, and I came across Therapy Sound for ASD. What do you suggest for this treatment? Should we try this? My son has difficulty speaking, and he's very hyper and not able to sit at one place at all. Also, my daughter, who is his twin, she doesn't respond to her name or make enough or make enough eye contact. She didn't receive EI, and now I'm worried about her too, and thank you so much. Okay, so I don't know how old your children are, but I hear that you've moved to Texas. Texas does have a mandate. This is wonderful, right? I don't know whether your insurance will cover it. And I should say this, if your insurance doesn't cover it and you're in a state that has a mandate, you can get other insurance, and probably your state insurance would cover it. It's worth it to look and see how much it is to get the other insurance. Even if you're not getting this, like, in California, it's Covered California. I would not recommend that plan, but there are other plans that you can get because it's a mandated state that you can pay for on your own. And if you're going to do ABA, even though it's going to cost you a lot more to get the insurance that you weren't paying for, it's worth it. It's worth it. So could be the case in Texas as well. You'd want to look and see if you don't have insurance already. Talking about, and I absolutely think it's worthwhile, your daughter, because she is a twin of a boy who's on the autism spectrum, her chances of being on the autism spectrum are significantly raised. And if she is having difficulty making eye contact and is not responding to her name, those are 2 of the biggest red flags that they are. And so I would say to you, with love and kindness, make this a priority that you need to get her in and be seen, and that for both of them, as quickly as possible, you want to get ABA happening. That's carte blanche, and you need to get good quality ABA. If you need some providers in Texas, I recommend some depending on where you are. But there are many good quality ABA providers in Texas, including several card offices. There's a brand new one in Corpus Christi that is a card office, and there is a card office in, can't think what the name of it is, Kelby. I have like a brain bubble. It starts with an A. What's the big place? Austin, thank you. Thank goodness for Kelby. Okay, and there is a new office opening up in Dallas as well. So there are those offices in Texas. And there are other ABA providers as well, so let us know, where you are in Texas. Now, to answer your question about a sound therapy system for ASD, I'm not sure what you are referring to, but there are 2 different types of sound programs for ASD that are considered reputable. One is something called Tomatis, and the other one is called Baralt. Both of those are widely respected. They're still considered a little bit cutting edge, but Baralt in particular is something that is FDA approved as a educational treatment. And what it does is it helps to regulate your ears to be able to hear certain sounds. And we see that with some kids on the autism spectrum, they aren't able to have their brain take out high-pitched noises or low-pitched noises so that they can hear the ones in the middle. And I personally know people who have done Baralt who have had great success. I know other people who have done Baralt and said, we didn't see anything, and it's very, very expensive. There are ways that you can get grants for it, but I don't know if Baralt or Tomatis is one of the things that you're talking about. If it isn't, then I would say to you that it doesn't have a big enough, there isn't enough research on it. If it's not one of those two, then we certainly haven't heard about it here, and there hasn't been enough research on it, and I wouldn't do it. But both Tomatis and Baralt, there is some good research on both of them, but very expensive, and it's hit and miss. It's right for some kids and not for others. So I would give you that asterisk about do some research on it beforehand, know what you're getting into before that you do it. But before that, first and foremost, you're in Texas. I really want to encourage you to get a good quality ABA provider for both of your children and get your daughter looked at for a diagnosis. But even if she isn't diagnosed, the ABA would be really good for her. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Lois Jean Brady is going to be joining us, and she's got a new edition of Apps for Autism. She's also going to be talking with us about an app that she's been very involved in creating, Inner Voice. You're going to want to hear about it, so stick with us.
You say hi, we say hi. Let's get wild, let's get wild. 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 Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Lisa Ackerman with Taka. My
Hi.
guest here.
I am Jennifer Lucero with Taka.
Taka Mom is here in the house. Jeff saw on a TV commercial, they were making calzones, and he looked at me and goes, Mom, please make me that. Wait a minute, yeah, calzone, you can't have calzone. He goes, well, you make me pizza. Why don't we call it a pizzone? So we're going to do this ode to Jeff, pizzone. So I'm going to have Jen come on in.
All right.
You're on charge.
Ready.
We're going to add a little grapeseed oil, garlic, cut up chicken, finely cut up onion, and we're going to throw a little bit of basil. So we're going to just take about 5 minutes or so, saute up the chicken and all of the onions together. While Jen is slaving away at the stove, I'm going to make the pizza crust. A lot of gluten-free choices that you have out there for pizza crust. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the dry. Again, I'm using eggs. There are a lot of egg replacers on the Taka website. We have about a dozen different ways to replace eggs. So I'm going to go ahead and add my shortening. Calls for a little extra salt, which I'm going to put in here. And also add a little pepper. And we also have herbs de Provence that gives the crust a nice Italian flavor. Can't forget the apple cider vinegar, organic stuff ready to go. Yes, I have all my ingredients. We're ready to rock with this mixer. And don't be afraid of dough. Dough doesn't bite. So here's what we'll be working with to make the pizzone. I'm ready to go. Let's get this party started. So what we're going to do next is roll out the dough. I like to be rolling in the dough, but we're going to roll out the dough instead. So let's go ahead and get started here with that. So again, you see me using the parchment paper all the time. Love this stuff. It's basically unbleached, ready to go. It's just going to make life a lot easier on your rolling pin. You don't need to coat it or anything, which is a lot easier. But I swear I should buy that by the gross ton. So the pizzones, this basically makes 2 big pizzones. I'm going to take half of the dough and roll it out. Half of the other dough will be for the other pizzone that we're going to make in just a little bit. So you want to do, you're not making a pie crust, you're kind of making a long oval shape. So we're going to try to make a shape where I'm going to basically roll this over with all the yummy fillings. And so any combination or variation thereof. This sauce, just real simple, is organic crushed tomatoes, I've added a little bit of salt and pepper and herbes de Provence in that as well, which I love. I like extra fresh basil. That's always yummy to have on your puzzone. And thank you, this turned out fantastic. So we're just basically building it the way that we want to eat it. Of course, my favorite rice-free, organic, dairy-free, soy-free cheese. It's going to pop out the sides.
Okay.
I'm not afraid of popping out the sides. So that's the beauty of the parchment paper. Once you're done, you just flip it over and peel it back. So I'm just taking a fork now and going around the edges. It looks so pretty.
It looks really nice.
So for 400 degrees, we're going to go for about 25 minutes. You want it golden brown. And because we cooked everything pretty much already, you're not worried about not having everything fully cooked. So look how cute those look.
Looks great.
Like those 4 happy people right there. This weighs a ton. So let's go to the magic oven. Pull out our finished product. And voila!
Good.
Oh my gosh,
looks
this
beautiful.
is so yummy. There's nothing better than a little Jeff Ackerman pizzone.
Yeah.
And this is going to be nuclear hot, but we'll go ahead and cut it open so you can. Oh my gosh, this is going to taste so good
That
later
looks
on for
great.
your kids.
Yum.
Feedback, keep it coming. Thank you for helping, Jen.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us. Come back to Autism Live. We'll keep doing allergy-friendly cooking classes. If you have any suggestions or things that you would like to see us make, bring it on. You can reach us at autismlive@gmail.com or Facebook.
Love the Facebook.
I know, too much for me. Facebook, so facebook.com/autismlive, or thousands of taco recipes ready to go. Basically go to Takanow, TACANOW.org, and we'll see you next time.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're so excited. We're so lucky because joining us via Skype right now is Lois Jean Brady. And I know that you know her. She's been on the show with us before. She is the author of Apps for Autism, which you've seen featured on 60 Minutes. She is an amazing young woman who gets so much done. I swear she must have more hours in the day than the rest of us. But Lois, welcome back to Autism Live.
Thank you, Shannon. It's always a pleasure to come.
Well, it's thrilling to have you here because you are one of the great minds. I always refer to the fact that, you know, whenever we get overwhelmed about autism, never fear because there are brighter minds that are working on things to help us. And you're one of those brighter minds that I'm always referring to. In fact, you have won 3 hackathons.
Yes.
3 hackathons, and we're going to be talking with you a little bit more about, you know, some of the things that you've created. But I want to start with talking about Apps for Autism and how this has come along and your new exciting announcement about the newest version of. So tell us a little bit about how and why you created this resource and what's happening with it now.
Well, originally I created it, Shannon, because it's just so amazing what the iPad is doing for our children on the spectrum. It's fantastic. We have kids out there who are nonverbal, and we originally thought that they were also, you know, cognitively delayed, but with the iPad, they're not. We're finding out our kids are just kids. They're typing and they're telling us fantastic things, and it's opened so many doors. But when it first came out, nobody knew about it. And I was quite frankly told it was a toy and not to use it with my students. You know, luckily we have a back room, so we all went to the back room and we used it. And so I just sat down and started writing. I said, everyone needs to know about this. Well, luckily enough, there was enough bright people in the world. We were all finding out at the same time. And so I put it down. My first book was basically an app review, Apps for Autism. And it had like 250 apps that were reviewed and kind of clumped into areas. And it was fantastic. And my whole thing was to say, hey, look at what this can do. It can help your child communicate. It can teach them how to communicate. It works on fine motor, social skills. You know, there's just so much out there we need to harness. And it was excellent. So everyone's finding out about this. And now I come up with Apps for Autism, the revised edition. And I thought, how can I make that better? I really, really need to make it better. I need to make it more of a resource. So I contacted all the really cool people out there doing great stuff with technology and the top professionals in their area. And I said, hey, can you write a little bit for this book? So they did. So I got all these fantastic professionals giving you the state-of-the-art information on technology and their little area of expertise, all these little niche areas, and it had just developed into this fantastic resource. So I'm very, very proud of the current edition of Apps for Autism, revised and expanded.
Okay, and so I love this because it was always a great resource and something really remarkable. I think something really needed, because we hear from families all the time who go, well, I know my kid loves the iPad, and we may have one app that the child plays with over and over again, but I feel like I might be missing something. And there hasn't to date been a really good way to be able to figure out the breadth of all the things that are available and get some recommendations. So this has always been a brilliant, brilliant resource, but now that much better. So where do we get the revised edition, Lois?
Future Horizons, of course, they are the publisher, and you can go right onto their website. I believe they have it in hardback and ebook, and of course Amazon. And there, if you just Google Apps for Autism, I believe there's also some independent booksellers around who have it. Okay. But those are the two main ones.
Wonderful. And I know a lot of people love it in the ebook version of it because it's a pretty intensive, heavy book.
It's very heavy. Matter of fact, it was delayed because it was 600 pages and they had to condense it to 400. Wow. I didn't want them to cut anything out, so we just kind of pushed it together.
Right.
However, I have made it sectional, and I wanted it to be easy to read, so it's kind of almost in the style of a bathroom reader, where you don't have to sit down and go cover to cover. Yeah. You can say, oh my gosh, I really need something in literacy. I think my child can spell. I want an app that can help me determine this, or can bring them along, or can teach them something. So you just go to that section and just read through a few things. You're going to get some tips from experts. You're going to read some success stories from other students and how these apps worked out with them. And so you're not just going to get the use this app for literacy. You're going to get, oh, this is how you use it, and this is how the experts say to use it, and these are the types of things to look for. So there we go. I'm very proud of that it's not a heavy read.
Yeah, no, I love it. We're all about the bathroom book reader because you know sometimes that's the time you have, right? And truly, what a great thing to do to get a copy. You know, put it someplace in your office or in your home so that you know where it is. But get one and put it in the bathroom. I guarantee you'll get more done with the one in the bathroom, right? We're just keeping it real here. But how wonderful as a resource so that people can go and find more ways to utilize those iPads. I think both parents and people who are working with individuals on the spectrum love this as a resource. So want to remind everybody to go and get that either Amazon, but you can find it at Future Horizons on their website as well. We love them. Yes. But I want to talk with you a little bit. I want to take a short break, and I want to talk with you about Inner Voice, an app that you've been instrumental in creating, and why it's such a wonderful, wonderful app. And you guys have an exciting new announcement this morning as well about Inner Voice. So we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back and talk more with Lois Jean Brady. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, you know, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Lois and I are so busy talking. I'm on Skype right now with Lois Jean Brady. She is the founder of iTherapy and the co-creator of Inner Voice. This is an amazing app. And we mentioned before, Lois, that how many times have you won the hackathon?
Oh, I won three.
Three times. That's unprecedented, right? There's nobody that's won the hackathon. Tell us a little bit about what a hackathon is and what you won for.
Well, there's different hackathons for different things. Some of them are regarding like the Google Glass, and some of them are regarding social things that we need to cure. But the hackathons I won are specifically regarding autism. They are autism hackathons. And what you do is you get your idea people like me, who have a lot of experience working with students with autism, and then you get your developers who know how to develop things, and you bring them together for 48 hours. So you sit with these people for 48 hours, they feed you and they give you lots of caffeine, and you work together and you create an app essentially. And then at the end of this 48 hours, you present the app to a panel of other experts and professionals who then ask you some questions and ask you some technical things, and you answer the questions, and then of course they vote on it. It's very exciting. If there's a hackathon in your area, I totally recommend you going, just to learn so much more than we already know.
I need to go to one because I think it sounds like so much fun. But I did say that we wanted to talk specifically about Inner Voice. And we've had conversations about this amazing app before on the show with you, but for new viewers who haven't seen, tell us what Inner Voice is.
Well, Inner Voice was born out of actually me writing apps for autism as I'm researching hundreds and hundreds of apps and realizing that the communication apps, our kids on the spectrum pretty much had a little interest in them, and we had to prompt them or reinforce them to use our communication apps. And basically they just asked for a Cheeto or a chip or something like that. And that's not good enough. They're better than that. They can talk more than that. They have more inside of them. But how do we draw their attention? Well, what they do like looking at is pictures. They love pictures. They love pictures of their special characters. They love pictures of their family and themselves. But what they don't look at is me. They don't look at me when I talk. They don't look at you. They don't look at live people. So I found this entertainment company who was doing this fabulous animated 3D face, and you can basically get the face to say whatever you wanted it to. So I thought, well, oh my gosh, if we could put this 3D face onto a communication app and let the children see the message being spoken, they would actually attend to the face speaking because they love looking at iPads. They won't look at me, but they'll look at my iPad. So they'll attend to that face speaking their message. Can we get more engagement? So we kind of jimmy rigged something up, and sure enough, the kids are coming over, they're paying attention. And better than that, Shannon, the communication partners in their environment were totally excited about this. So they came running over to see what the child was saying. So that just creates this wonderful environment that your child wants to communicate in. And communication should be fun, not a chore. So we got this, we called a developer and said, could we create this actual communication app using your 3D avatar technology? And then it started from there. So our app is called Inner Voice, and it's fabulous, and we've been upgrading it as we can. And right now we've got a new upgrade called Inner Voice Sender. It is a free app that you can download, and it works with Inner Voice so that me, being the educator, can send a message or text a message to my learner's iPad. that gives them the correct thing to say. So essentially the avatar on their iPad is prompting them through, you know, verbal communication, whether it's a conversation or to request something or to ask a question. It's not me saying, say your name is Johnny. It's the avatar on the screen saying, say your name is Johnny. And we're using the very powerful evidence-based technique of video self-modeling, because they can put their own pictures in there and have their own pictures tell them, you know, what to say and how to say it. So we're really excited about this. And the kids, the responses have been excellent, excellent.
I love this, Lois, and I love the fact that, you know, so often there are products and services that come out and well-meaning, right, but they're people who don't have the experience that you have working with individuals who are on the autism spectrum. So I think it's important to note that you were working with kids, saw a need, created it so that you could continue working with kids. You use this in your practice. This is something that you're doing on a daily basis, and you have gotten together with other people to make it available to people all over the world. And all of that is wonderful. But the other part of this that we have to say to people is that you did it in a way that makes it ultimately affordable for anyone.
Right. That was number one. I've been to so many IEP meetings where the parents or even the school districts say, well, we can't afford it. How do we get this for our child? And I heard that so many times. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's true. How do you afford this? And even if you do buy it, do you know your child will really use it?
Yeah.
That being said, too, there is a free version of Inner Voice because of that one thing, that thread that I heard throughout all IEPs. We do have a free version. So if you're not real sure, go check out the free version. See if it does indeed draw your child, get them engaged with you. If it does, then you're going to, of course, want the premium version because there's so much more you can do with it. But yeah, that's big, and we needed to make it accessible for everybody, everybody. So we've been getting grants, and like you had mentioned, I won hackathons. Well, there's money prizes attached to those. So all that money is what we use to upgrade Inner Voice. Therefore, we can keep the price at a very reasonable $19.99.
Yeah. And when you think about it, I mean, there are other apps that help with assisting with like a picture exchange kind of a system. It's not that 3D and their own faces speaking at them, so you're missing a component with those other apps, and they're hundreds of dollars.
Yes.
And they're very time intensive in terms of programming them to meet the individual's
needs. Oh my gosh, yes, they get abandoned. That was the number 2 thread I heard from all parents, was once they were able to get the app, or grandma bought it for them, or however they did it, they were abandoned because the kids weren't engaged.
Right.
It means nothing to them. Sometimes those pictures, it's hard to tell what the pictures mean.
Yes.
You know, and I had that experience for me one time. I was talking on the phone and just glancing at some pecs, and I thought, what are those pecs? I don't know what those mean. So
yeah, which makes it hard then when you're trying to communicate. And now with this new, it really has turned into Inner Voice, Lois, because if you can send the prompt to them and it's their voice and their avatar speaking to them and it looks like them, it really is as though a thought went through of, oh, I should say this. I think that that's absolutely brilliant, and for you to do that for under $20 is very impressive.
Right. We're seeing really nice results. Like I say, the active video self-modeling is one of the most underused, powerful techniques out there. You know, Dr. Tom Buggy has been researching that for years, and they're doing quite a bit of it in Australia. It's just fabulous technique, and now that we all have our smartphones and we're capable of capturing video, we need to like really start using that technique more and more and more. It's very powerful.
Well, and who better than you, the author of Apps for Autism, to help connect us to that? I mean, honestly, it comes
There's a chapter in here that talks about that specifically, just the video modeling and video self-modeling. There's a big chapter because it's a very important thing that we start doing with our kids. We need to put away the flashcards and really whip out the video modeling and get our phones out there. And the kids will do it themselves. They learn how to do this pretty rapidly because they're interested. And if you can get them interested and get their attention, then we won. You know, student of mine has ever run over to me when I've walked into the room with a handful of flashcards. They run the other way, but if I walk into the room with my iPad, they all run towards me.
Yes.
So we need to harness that and really start showing them some things that they can use. We all know our kids can memorize complete Disney movies.
Right.
We need to give them something that's functional to memorize and a way to use it in a context to use it in. And that's what the video modeling and video self-modeling is.
Wonderful. Now we have to give them some addresses so that they know where to find Inner Voice. Where can Inner Voice be purchased?
It's of course on the iTunes store, but I have a website if you wanted to know all the research and science behind it, and it's just innervoiceapp.com. And take a look at Inner Voice in action. And again, there is a free version, so feel free to download the free version and just check it out. See what that 3D photo avatar looks like. You can even put a teddy bear in there. You can put an animal. You can put a drawing. That's the really cool thing about it. So just go and download it. No harm done.
Okay. Now, Lois, would you be willing to stay with us for one more segment because we had somebody write in and say, what are the top apps that you recommend in apps for autism?
Yes, I'd love to answer some questions.
Okay, so let's go to break, and then we're going to come back and have Lois recommend a couple of the apps. It'll be no means exhaustive, right? We're just going to ask her for maybe the top 3 or 4 that she's really into this week. And you know how that is. You get into an app, and then maybe something else happens, and you get into another one. But we'll get some recommendations from her. So stick with us. We'll be right back more with Lois Jean Brady, author of Apps for Autism. Stick with us.
What is autism? What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism.
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them. Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome.
Love.
The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're so lucky because we're here talking via Skype with Lois Jean Brady, and she's an amazing person in the field of autism. She's a founder of co-founder of iTherapy. She is the co-creator of the wonderful app Inner Voice, and she is the author of Apps for Autism, which was featured in its original version on 60 Minutes. They have a new revised and expanded version of Apps for Autism, which we really want to encourage. She's holding it up right now for you. We really want to encourage you to get this new version. You're going to love it. And it is available both as a book, but also as an ebook. So really want to recommend it. And we had a question from a viewer who wants to know, are there specific apps in the book that you really love and recommend?
Of course, there's apps that I use on a daily basis. I mean, and there's apps that once I show the students what they do, they use these apps as reinforcers. They use these apps in the backseat of their parents' car, and essentially they're literacy apps. So they're learning to read and spell completely on their own. The first one I use, of course, is it's called First Words, and it's basically a drag and drop of letters to spell a word. And then once you spell the word, there's a little reinforcer and a picture comes up and then spins off screen. Well, I thought that was just the best thing ever for teaching spelling, and my kids, believe it or not, or my students, took to it almost immediately. students that were still working on their ABCs and no one even thought they knew what they were all of a sudden spelling. And their jaws were dropping. But the better part of that is now that the students realize that they can spell, they want to. So they just use this app all the time. I walk into a room where kids are on their leisure break time and they're over there spelling. So you can't ask for anything better than that. So I always recommend First Words. There's a deluxe version, which has a lot of categories. And then there's a professional version, which allows you to go in and select the words you want your student or child to learn. So if you're a professional, you probably want to be able to select the targets that you're working on. So that's one of my absolute favorites.
I love that. So could you potentially put in the child's whole spelling list from a given week and then change it every week?
Now, not on that app, but the second app I was going to tell you about,
okay,
which is Little Speller. Now that app is very similar to First Words, where you're dragging and dropping the letters. It's maybe a hair not as engaging for the students. However, you're able to go take pictures of anything in the child's environment, any person, any target you're working on, and put them into this app and then have them spell those. So essentially now you have like an electronic flashcard. And better than that is you can engage the students to go and take their own pictures and program their own files, so to speak. And you don't have to erase them. You just keep adding more and more files. There's a free version of that to try. And then there's, if you want the expanded, of course, it's under $5. Very, very worth it.
Love it.
It's called Little Speller. However, there's another app for kids who are starting maybe echolalic or just some emerging speech that has worked fantastically, and that's called First Phrases, where you create this little phrase. It's a drag and a drop. Our kids love to be engaged with the app. And then it may be something like step over the water. And then you see this little animation of a child actually stepping over a puddle of water. So now that just reinforces the concept. But after you see that, you get to record it. So the child gets to say it now, step over the water, and then they get to listen to themselves say it and then see the animation again. Oh my God, the kids just love that.
I bet. That
right?
sounds really
They love hearing their own voices, and it forces the word the, because many times our kids with the auditory processing don't hear the. So as they see it and as they have to move it up into the phrase, it forces them to recognize it and know it's there.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great. I use that almost on a daily basis. And even kids who I don't think are ready for it, I just sit them down and they do it. They always surprise you. They always come up to the task. So
love it. What about for older kids?
Every iPad.
Is there an app that you really recommend for our older kids?
Now, the one that's First Phrases, that it's done by Patty Hamaguchi, who is a speech language pathologist, and she makes apps just for the kids who have more language. She has one that's called Fun with Verbs and Sentences, so that brings you up to sentences. Of course, mobile education. He has a daughter who's a little bit older and echolalic and just emerging verbal. So he has made a whole series of apps just for that age group. So you'll have sentence builder, question builder, conversation builder, and that's called mobile education. So if you go and you just Google mobile education, you're going to see all the wonderful apps he has put together to really build syntax and sentences and real communication.
And you know, you talk about all these things. I don't know about the rest of you, but I start to get excited because I go, oh, what about an app that does this? And what about an app that does this? And I know I've sat down with my smartphone or with an iPad and thought to myself, oh, is there an app that does this? And you try to search and you might as well go home.
You might as well.
Right? But that's what your book is for, Apps for Autism. We haven't even scratched the surface.
No, I want to tell you about some more wonderful things, but
I think they should go buy the book. I think that's what they should do. This is a great book that's a gift for somebody that you know whether they're a teacher or somebody who's working with kids with autism, or a parent that has an individual that has special needs. This is but it's a great gift to get for yourself. And there's no better time. One of our topics for today was about how to make the most of a break. And a lot of people are just at the start of the summer break. And you can sit there and think, okay, I'm going to spend thousands of dollars on sending my kid to a camp, and that's a wonderful thing too, but you're still going to have time at home that's downtime. And your kid can either be vegging out playing a game on the app that isn't educational, or you can invest in this book, which is very affordable, and have great things going on that help your child build the skills that you want to see built.
And Shannon, they want to learn. Once you show them just a couple of these apps, they do them on their own, and they come up with their own incredible therapeutic techniques all by themselves to learn more, because our kids, they don't not want to learn. They really do want to. And we just got to kind of open that door, and they all just they don't walk through, they run through.
Absolutely.
And they're happy to. So
absolutely. Well, it's all wonderful. Again, Apps for Autism. Make sure that you can get that on Future Horizons website, but you can also get it on Amazon. Is it available in bookstores?
There's a couple the specialized bookstores that would have it, but
better to get it on Amazon and get it shipped to you.
Yeah, we don't really have bookstores in our area anymore.
No, it's a thing of the past. I've just dated myself.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, we thank you so much for being with us today and enlightening us about all these things. I can't wait to get the new Apps for Autism, and we'll have to have you back soon to talk about some more of these exciting things. And want to remind people to check out Inner Voice. Get that app, get the free version of it, try it out, because I'm sure that you'll, at less than $20 to get the full one, and you're going to want it once you see how great that it is. Inner Voice. Lois, we thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Shannon. Always a pleasure.
We're going to go to break. I'm going to ask Lois to stay on the phone, though, to finish talking about what we were talking about before. But we're going to be back in just a few minutes to close out the show. We got some news to share with you, and I want to make sure that we tell you about Stephanie's Day, which is happening this Saturday here in Los Angeles. If you're in the Los Angeles area, you definitely want to go to Stephanie's Day. So thanks again, Lois, and we'll be right back after this break.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, where is he? What is he doing? Is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What
did
it
say? Can you repeat that, Dustin? I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called and they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, you know, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle. Without that, we wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta, and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear ACT Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. You know, we underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Excuse me. We're here at the end of the show, at the end of the week, and we're going to be off all next week. Two sad stories that we have to cover, unfortunately. A murder-suicide, an apparent murder-suicide in Michigan. An autistic John Rickert Jr., who was aged 58. Friends and family who are aware, they understand that families were not in Kennedy more than physical blows. It's free. It's a great resource. Out and Around will be June 30th. That is when we're